Bump your brakes and stop on in. I'm your host, Kenneth Bagwell. On today's show, I have Ben Pattillo from
Dawsonville.
Runs Ben Diesel's Garage. That's Ben with a B, not V. And he's got a Cummins swapped S10 pickup. So, you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Well, it's just a 4BT S10, been turned up, the time's been advanced a little bit and some bigger injectors on it. But other than that, it's mostly stock.
Mostly stock, and yet it's a 4BT.
Yeah.
About how much horsepower does it have?
I think it was like 168 horsepower when I dynoed it. So, doesn't sound like a lot, but it's got a lot of torque.
Yeah, I imagine. What specialty things have you run into with having to do this?
Well, I did this about 6 or 7 years ago when I was in college, so I was on a college budget, and this was one of my first big projects, but I ended up having to cut out the floor for the transmission and built that up higher. I had to put a 3-inch body lift on it, and I had to put this big 4-inch cowl hood on it for everything to fit. I'm sure I could have made a custom oil pan or something and set the motor down lower, but that was just the easiest thing for me at the time.
So I see your custom motor mount right there. How much custom stuff did you have to do to fit it?
I had to fully make the motor mounts myself, and cutting out the firewall and stuff a little bit for it to all fit. It's just a really tall motor. But other than that, it's pretty much set right in there. I had to use a Chevy adapter plate from a bread truck, which they use these 4BTs in that, but this particular 4BT actually came from a knuckle boom loader. And the motor was locked up when I bought it. I bought it off Craigslist and had to fully go through it and rebuild it and got it going. And it took me about probably about 2 years, I guess, to fully get it where it is now. But like I said, that was just weekends working while I was in college, and it was just kind of figure everything out as I go.
You've been driving this thing for years.
Oh yeah, I've been driving for several years now. And
about how many miles have you put on it?
It's close to 40,000 I put on it since I built it.
Wow.
And back before I turned the fuel and stuff up, it got about 35 miles per gallon on the highway, and
good Lord.
Around 30 around town. Now it gets about 28 around town, maybe 32 on the highway. But it's got big injectors in it, the fuel's turned up, all that, so it kind of hurts the mileage some.
Would you recommend doing this to anyone? Because my fuel injection swaps I wouldn't tell anybody to do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you like mileage and you want a motor that lasts a long time, they're very reliable. They're extremely basic motors. It just takes one wire to turn the fuel on the injector pump to run it, and that's really all that's required. It doesn't require a computer at all, anything like that. So it's a basic swap. You know, if you can make it fit in your truck, then it'll work. I'm using a vacuum pump and a power steering pump from a Dodge 6BT. Using the factory brakes for the S10, which probably should upgrade a little bit, but it works. The turbo is not from a 4BT. It's actually a Garrett turbo that a turbo shop made for me. It spools fast and does okay.
So that's an aftermarket turbo?
Yes, and unfortunately it does not have AC. That's something I wanted to do, but it does have good heat.
So you don't even have an AC box?
Correct, it used to, but I took it out and put the heater box, and I still had to cut and modify that to fit the downpipe to have clearance.
So you will run into clearance issues trying to squeeze one of these?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's not just a drop-in thing.
Yeah, I see you had to cut for the radiator cap.
Yep.
I guess you could have got away with a different style radiator and a
Correct.
overflow.
Yeah, this truck actually had a V8 in it when I bought it, and the guys took it out, so that part was already done from the V8 swap.
Gotcha.
So I just left it as is. I'd like to do some things to clean it up a little better. I just, hadn't had the time or hadn't had to worry about it. It's been reliable enough.
So what would it run for somebody to bring you a truck over here and say, give me a diesel swap?
It's very involved because you usually want to change your rear end gear ratio as well if you're swapping to a diesel to get the RPMs where you want them so you can cruise down the road. I mean, if you want to do it yourself, you'll probably spend at least $10,000. If you were to take it somewhere, you'd probably spend $15,000 or more.
You also got custom gauges. Where are those from?
They're all Autometer. They're
Hmm.
good quality gauge, all the basic stuff. The
Cummins.
factory gauges just weren't accurate. They're not very good gauges, so I decided to go with that so I can keep a good check on everything.
Go ahead. So 4-cylinders aren't just for Honda Civics, are they?
No. No, you can do pretty much whatever you want with them. They can actually make a lot of power. 168 horsepower is what this makes, and doesn't sound like a lot, but it moves this small truck around really good. It's a very lightweight truck. I believe it weighs around 3,500 pounds total with the motor and all, so it's a pretty light truck. The motor itself weighs around 800 pounds alone. So.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah, and it's actually got a 273 gear ratio in the rear end, so it's extremely high geared.
Good lord.
So just imagine what it would do with a low gear.
Are you still running the S10 rear end?
It's got a locker in it, but yeah, it's the S10
How
axle.
you not broke it?
I guess it just spins a tire before it breaks something. But it gets around, if you're cruising 80 down the highway, you're about 2,000 RPM. So it moves down the road. That's the way I built it, was for fuel mileage and just to get me from point A to point B. So I didn't build it to tow with or anything like that. If you were to tow with this truck, I would definitely get a lower gear ratio. I've tried to tow and the exhaust temperature just gets too high too quick, the way the fuel's turned up. If anybody wants one of these built, you know where to find me.
I'll leave a link in the description below where you can find him. And if you like seeing crazy engine swaps, hit that subscribe button. See you next time.